We're good.
All right, let's call the meeting in order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Teresa. Please take the roll.
Okay, Mayor Jones.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Carlson.
Yes.
Horacek.
Here.
Mattson. Here. Schilling. Here. And Bowen is absent with notice.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Carlson?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horacek?
Yes.
Schilling?
Yes.
All right, we have one item on the agenda tonight. It's to review, discuss, and approve the real estate transfer between the City of Hartford and Gateway Hartford. Before we start, I have one of the members from Gateway Hartford who had asked if he could have a second to introduce himself. So I would like to ask Keith Mathieson up to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet.
For you that don't know me, I'm Keith Mathieson from Hartford. A couple guys I don't see your face, but I should put a name to it. Anyway, I'm the president of GHI, so I just kind of wanted to make myself, introduce myself to everybody, so you know who I am, which I do know most people, everybody. But I've been here in town for 30 years, and your population's doubled, and then some. And then I've got some light industrial buildings, coming in. Pretty good looking stuff, good direction. So, because of that, the lagoons get a little small, outdated. We got to build a new treatment plant, which we did with, what was that, 9.4 million
Grant.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for that. But here's what it did do. It doubled my utility bill. $48 times 2. It's a little tough at times. So get that off there as soon as you can.
We'd love to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, that gets us to this point. There isn't a hard deadline on moving dirt, mitigating the ground, but there is with some grants, federal money. So, including one that has a January 28th deadline. So, pushing that side of things fairly quick. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, the way I'm proposing we're going to move this forward, I'm going to give you some background on this transfer paperwork and the resolution. We'll open it up. If anybody has any questions, comments, they'll be more than free to come up and address. The council then will discuss and we'll move forward. So I'll start with this. City's been working on setting up a special project entity, which we have done to assist with the lagoon remediation, repurposing of this land for future development. This special project entity is known as Gateway Hartford, Inc. This entity will be able to apply for grant funding to remediate the lagoons and help the future land transfer as needed. In order to secure grant funding for remediation, the lagoon land will need to be transferred to Gateway Hartford, Inc. Once transferred to Gateway Hartford, Inc., they will work to remediate the lagoons, work on the master plan for the area, develop and market as needed. In order to move forward, this transfer will involve 2 steps. 1, the council will need to approve the real estate transfer agreement, which lays out the agreement between the City of Hartford and Gateway Hartford, Inc. for the land transfer, remediation, and eventual development. Key items to note in the agreement are: GHI has been created, Gateway Hartford has been created as a nonprofit economic development corp to help facilitate the remediation of the lagoons and redevelopment of the property and surrounding area. Gateway Hartford, Inc. is eligible for brownfield grants and for this remediation, which the city is not eligible for, being the contaminant. This grant, if awarded, will save the taxpayers approximately $2.8 million in funds that would otherwise be at the taxpayers' expense. Resolution 2026-3 will transfer the land. All associated costs with the transfer would be paid for by each respective party. Gateway Hartford will be obligated to apply for grants for the lagoon remediation, develop a master plan for the area, and move forward with developing, including plating, zoning, infrastructure, and marketing. If the lagoons cannot be remediated for whatever reason by Gateway Hartford, the land would revert back to the city. The city can also demand reconveyance of the land if Gateway Hartford does not carry out the duties per this agreement. Once Gateway Hartford, Inc. has completed its agreed upon task, this entity will dissolve and any net proceeds will revert back to the city. Along with this, the council also needs to approve Resolution 2026-3, which will transfer the land to Gateway Hartford. All right, that's what we're going to discuss. Anybody in the crowd want to have anything they'd like to say?
I have a couple questions.
Yep, go ahead. Say who you are so the camera knows.
Mark Anderson. So what does the development look like? I know that we don't have a plan, or I'm guessing you don't have an overall plan.
Right.
But when I hear the city or this entity would then develop that area, would the intention be to have those like build-ready lots? Or is that get rid of the ponds, get it, grade it out, and then sell to a developer that would then come in and develop? What would the intention be there?
That would be the plan, to get the lagoons remediated, get them to, what do they call that? Level ready, is that what they call that?
Shovel ready.
Shovel ready, or whatever they call that, and then begin the process at that point to market it to developers. And if I misspoke, Mark, and said the city won't be developing this.
Well, that was my question, I guess.
Yeah, no, the city's not gonna be developing. If I said that, I
The city
misspoke.
wouldn't be.
Oh, once we transfer the land to Gateway Hartford, yeah, they're gonna be in charge of making all this happen.
But Gateway Hartford, would they develop that then for build-ready lots, or is that just to mitigate the ponds, grade things out?
And get it ready.
Things ready, and then a developer would come in, build roads, and put infrastructure in? What does that look like?
TBD. There's no plan at the moment
Right.
to do that. I think the conversation's been had to reach out to developers and work with them to see what they provide for a plan. The only plan the city and Gateway Hartford has to use as a point of reference at this point is the plan that ISG had put together a couple of years ago. So we'll start there. But as far as if we try to solicit, developers to just purchase the whole 72 acres, that'd be ideal, and then it's done. But
That was my question,
Yeah.
I guess, as somebody that's in that,
Yep,
the risk and all that goes along with it, the cost, the risk. Just curious if that's something the city was looking at taking on, or if that's something that, the taxpayers would want to avoid.
well, that's why this first piece of transferring to the nonprofit that can apply for the remediation grant is huge.
Yeah, the grants. are
I mean, if that,
That
honestly,
adds a lot
Mark,
of value to the land for the city and
Yeah.
offset other costs. Yeah.
if that doesn't happen and the land reverts back to the city and we're back to square one, that changes this whole deal, I will tell you.
No, I understand that. It's, obviously, you don't know what
I mean, we don't have an
it
extra,
looks like.
yeah, we don't have an extra $3 million laying around that we're ready to go do that if that happened.
Yep.
Are Can I make a comment from here?
Or,
Well,
yeah,
just what I wanted to say is, there's an informational meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
With ISG and the developers, some of those people will be there with concepts. So I don't know what the,
Yeah.
just kind of all
And-
preliminary news for us too.
yeah, and really to talk about how are we gonna go, what do we gotta do to get this grant application won? You know?
Yeah, that's a big piece of it,
And that's a huge piece of this deal. So you're asking questions that if we're acting like we don't, because we don't know, I mean, there's things we just don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to have the provisions in the agreement.
Right.
If Gateway Hartford can't secure grants, then we've got a whole other, the land needs to come back and we need to reevaluate.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, our hope is that we don't get to the point where we can't get it remediated, comes back to the city, we can't find other sources to grant this deal, and the state comes to us and says, oh, by the way, what are you guys gonna do with this?
Yeah, impacts the value, obviously.
So, because the way it sits right now, I don't know if a developer would come in and say, oh, yeah, I'll buy this betting on the fact that I can get all this done.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else?
I guess I'll say a few things here. So, Eric Buckman here. So your meeting tomorrow night for the informational meeting
Yep.
is after the land transfer. So just like Keith said, everybody's got a lot of questions, you don't know how this is gonna go, correct? But let's just start by transferring the land without questions, and those are the right steps.
You have to transfer the land so that we can apply for the grant by the 28th of January.
And what is that grant? We know how much that grant is.
It's open-ended at this point, isn't
It
it?
is. I mean, obviously it's through the state, but basically the dollar amount will be up to the state. So it's not capped at like 600,000 or 800,000 or whatnot. You could possibly get the full amount. Not saying we will, but.
So we have an
you could
engineer's
possibly.
estimate that will base our grant request
Yes,
off.
we will request, they will request for the whole thing.
So if you, let's say you get 800,000 or $1 million, what will you do with the shortfall, or what will you do with that $1 million if you are granted that doesn't complete that project?
That's a great question.
Come back to the city and ask for the balance to finish the remediation. The intent of Gateway Hartford is to remediate the property, to get it ready, so it could be, so it's a sellable lot. Because you can't just leave it, it's contaminated.
Right.
2 million's less than 3 million. So anything we get would be a bonus. I think timing and speed is always the question.
Yeah, and the number's always been out there. It's never been a secret that it's gonna cost, the price has increased pretty substantially,
More,
like
yeah.
everything, but it started out at $1 million to remediate it, and then it went to 1.7, and now it's at 3, so.
So is there anything in your guys' bylaws or articles of corporation that state, like, let's say you get $1 million, you get $1 million grant, you start moving $1 million worth of dirt, the nonprofit becomes essentially inoperable because there's no funds, and there's $1 million worth of work done on this property already. Is there any safeguards in those articles stating that you can't just go and sell that said land to any developer or any organization for $1 just to get it on what it needs to? Somebody says, hey, I want to come in, and I'm going to bring project XYZ into this land, and I'll buy it from you for $1 and do the remainder of the remediation.
Well, I think, speaking from my experience with federal grants in other settings, if we take money for a purpose and don't complete that purpose, you didn't fulfill the requirements of the grant. So, I don't know.
So if you only
The
get,
city
so if
has-
you get a third of what you need, can you technically start your project?
I don't think that would be wise.
Obviously, it's gonna be a board decision, but for me, as I played that out, that Gateway Hartford would have to come to the city and say, okay, this is what we got for a grant. As the contaminator, the polluter of the property, let's work to find the other 2 million.
Grants usually come with a specified time frame to complete and, continue to follow up as it's required in the grant.
The intent is not for Gateway Hartford to 1/3 it or halfway it or 3/4 it. It's to completely get it remediated and give it back to the city. Or, get
Or
it
no,
sold and give the
yeah.
funds
So in other
back to the
words,
city.
if you are granted 3 million, essentially, you're like, hey, this project is gonna work, we're gonna grant it back to the city.
It's possible.
But
Yep.
there's also nothing saying that, once that land gets transferred, there's nothing saying that it can't be sold to another entity as well, once it's in that nonprofit. Even us as a development foundation, there's nothing saying that we can't sell our land as a nonprofit to any given organization for $1.
In my reading,
I think this, yeah, go ahead, Cindy.
in my reading, it can be sold for the purposes of economic development, but if they cannot complete the remediation, they can't just, they have to complete the remediation, otherwise it comes back to the city, the land.
Which is what bullet 5 says.
Mm-hmm.
The city can demand.
So in your scenario, if that were to happen, the only way that that could happen would be the agreement of the party purchasing it for $1 in your case. There would have to be an agreement in place that they would fully remediate it.
Correct.
Yeah, in the reconveyance here, it says, as an alternate to reconveyance, Gateway and the city may agree that Gateway may sell the property to a mutually agreeable third party, which will then assume responsibility for remediation of the lagoon site for future redevelopment.
So, what would yeah, I mean, obviously, if you guys are granted the 2.8 billion, 3 million, whatever it is,
Yep.
that's great, because now all of a sudden you have an asset that you could essentially possibly market to a developer to, it's interstate frontage, it should be minimum $30,000-$40,000 an acre land, it should be a good asset to the city. But,
Not to the city, to Gateway Hartford, with the intent that if there's any money left when it's all said and done, comes back to the city at that point. We're not gonna get money off the land until everything's said and done and it's all sold. That's the way it's written.
yep.
I mean, we're not gonna be selling every parcel and taking a chunk. This thing has to be finished. They gotta sell 71 acres and have it done.
And then they're done.
Then they dissolve, then the money, if there's anything left, then it comes back. That's how we drew it up. That's how we wanted it drawn up, so.
Yeah, it says, in the event Gateway Hartford or its successor by assignment, merger, or reorganization is unable to carry out its duties under this agreement, or attempts to sell, assign, or lease to a private third-party developer, cities shall have the right, but not the obligation, to demand Gateway reconvey the entire property back to the city. So we either drag it across the finish line, or we give it back to the city.
I guess one other concern, and it kind of is leading to what Mark had to say, what Mark said. Obviously, I'm on the HADF board. We have a 40-acre development and a 140-some acre parcel of land, which Travis, you and I have had that discussion about that 140-acre parcel of land. It's not that desirable piece of land. I feel like there needs to be something done with that. But as an outside developer looking into the city of Hartford, knowing that there's we have like 180 acres, 160 to 180 acres of land to develop, and now all of a sudden there's another nonprofit developing 70 more acres. How does an outside developer looking in see Hartford as a very inviting community as a developer?
Our purpose is to remediate the ground. Whether that, at that point, we decide to develop it or sell it to a
Well, I
developer
mean,
is
we just got
to
done
be
having a conversation,
determined.
said that you were gonna either see it through the end or give it
Right.
back to the city.
But the board ultimately has the ultimate say, once it's remediated, do we take the next step? Is there interest in that? Or do we give it back to the city? So that's where, way back, it's TBD, if we go back to Mark's comments.
I mean, I guess I'm not a developer, so I probably don't view things the same way, but this land isn't going to be ready for development for years.
Few years.
Probably be
2 years, but I mean,
fall
there's,
of '27 at the earliest.
yeah,
And-
fall of 27 and.
Yeah. And there are adjacent parcel owners interested in collaborating on what the development in that area looks like. I think if the assumption is that it will absolutely only be in, for sure, industrial park, I mean, I don't know if that's an absolute,
Right.
or is it some other type of,
Right, whatever it is, as a nonprofit, I mean, even for us as a nonprofit, we can manipulate the numbers to bring businesses into town way different than a private developer can for profit.
I guess what I was trying to say
Essentially,
is,
that's tough competition for outside development.
it might not be a competitor to the type of development that HADF is currently has.
I'm not saying
Maybe
it's HADF,
complement.
I'm saying it's any outside developer potentially.
Well, I guess
Kind
that's
of
how,
what he was getting at.
I
That
see.
was, the city's creating competition for somebody like our group that is developing and has land for sale.
Well, I don't think a business park is in your development.
No, if this
Maybe
is
not
industrial
theirs.
focus, then it's.
This is an industrial focus.
Right. There's also a master plan
Yeah.
component that goes with this. We're gonna have this thing master planned out, which is gonna start shortly,
Yep.
if we can get through the paperwork. And the other thing that Gateway Hartford is bound to is that master plan. We've tried to put some guardrails in there so this deal gets to the end in a fashion that benefits the city. We're looking to create, as we called it, Gateway Hartford. We want to create a nice window into the city. It's not an industrial park. It's what's
Not
the,
track houses,
what's the place that we talk about on
the Golden Triangle.
Golden Triangle, 229 and 229, where they built Citibank and in there, those types of, that's, oh,
Tom's calling
sorry, Attorney, you must
Tom's
have.
late to the party. But I think, you mentioned, it's right, it has that interstate, visibility. I think there's other types of businesses that that might be more interested in that, not for convenience, because certainly it'd be convenient for for an industrial park type situation as far as traffic in and out. But it's also pretty attractive in terms of other commercial development.
I mean, I'm sure it would be attractive to a lot of private developers.
in. These are really Gateway Hartford questions.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions regarding the transfer of land?
Well, it is a Gateway Hartford question as well, but you're transferring it, you guys both have an interest in Gateway Hartford, and obviously you have some
How's that?
information about it.
What is our interest?
Aren't you board members?
Yeah, but what do you mean by interest? What are you
We have
saying?
the interest of the city.
What are you saying beyond that?
I'm saying you're on the board, so you've obviously had conversation and.
What are you inferring?
I'm saying you have information about what you have intentions for this land for.
The only intention we have is to get it transferred, get a master development plan going.
Get it
Yeah, you brought
remediated.
up
Get it remediated.
Different businesses about,
Okay.
the
Again-
Citibank goes, I mean, obviously there's ideas there.
Sure, there's.
Well, sure, there's
a lot of
ideas.
thoughts.
I think if you go
Yeah.
back to the point that if you look at the master plan that the city has, that's why it's in part of what we put forward to Gateway
Yeah.
Hartford has to comport with what that master plan looks like. And that property along the interstate doesn't look like in the master plan an industrial park.
The
That's-
existing one, yeah.
That's me. I have not talked with Gateway Hartford, but when you say it has to comport with the master plan, when I recall looking at the master plan, that's what was along that track.
All right, one more question, I guess.
All right? Anybody else? If not, we'll move forward. Any action from the council or discussion that we need to have?
I just see this as step one, and then moving on, and then we'll have to monitor as we go along.
Absolutely.
But this, step one is critical for that grant, and then that's why I'll be voting yes for this, because it's all about that grant. And then after that, then might be switching votes, yes, no, we'll have to see how, just because I don't know, there's too many unknowns.
Yeah, there's rezoning, there's a lot of steps.
I would say my vote is based on, there's a lot of worry about if this isn't a perfect plan, what if we don't get the grant, what is going to happen if things, it's a risk to benefit for me if this can go well. Gateway Hartford can get a sizable grant. It doesn't kill the city to take care of this remediation from a financial standpoint. And then at the end of it, if we could sell it outright to a developer that somehow matches the vision in the city plan, and we get cash back to pay for, we talked last week, we need a new water tower in 5 to 10 years. We want a community event center. We want a swimming pool. We don't have money for that. No one else is going to write us a check to take care of those things. So this is our opportunity to make our best step forward to get money back out of this property and take care of some of the needs without having more expenses. So that's why I'm very interested in this.
All right.
According to our attorney, we could go into executive for legal counsel if we felt the need.
I'm about 8 minutes away. I thought the meeting was at 7, and I apologize.
Okay.
I think we'll be done before you get here.
Shut the meter off.
Is there any questions or concerns with anybody that we would need to discuss further? If not, is there any action from the council?
I'll make a motion to approve land transfer to Gateway Hartford, Inc.
Second?
Any more discussion?
And can we add to authorize Arden to sign an agreement to that?
Sure,
motion?
and to add
Okay.
that Mayor Arden Jones can sign the agreement.
You want to amend your second?
I would second that amended motion.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Schilling.
Yes.
Horacek.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Mattson.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
All right. Do we have to vote then on Resolution
Okay, so that
2026-3?
just approved the agreement, so now the resolution was actually transferring.
Mayor,
Yep,
this is Aaron Schneider, the attorney for Gateway Hartford.
Yes.
I have a bad connection. I just wanted to confirm, was there a second on the motion that was brought?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yep. Thank you, Aaron. All right, the next up is Resolution 2026-3, which, hold on, let me get there. It's a resolution approving the transfer of the real estate to Gateway Hartford.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-3, transfer of real estate to Gateway Hartford, Inc.
Second.
Any more discussion on this one? Hearing none, we'll vote. Carlson.
Yes.
Mattson.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Horacek.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
All right. Anything to go into executive session for? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, somebody?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.